Ladies and gentlemen, the ninth article sounds like this. Aspiring sincerely to an international peace based on justice and order, the Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right and the threat or use of force as means of settling international disputes. So it's about the spirit of the Constitution, which has been, which it is, and which should remain a model for the whole world. So in my today's speech, I'm going to tackle two major points. First of all, the changing paradigm and how all the international paradigm changed after the end of war, how Japan was a model and should remain a model to the society. And secondly, about the backlashes, about how is the world going to change after this abolition and how people will react after this. But first of all, I'm going to have two major points of counter-argument. Yeah. Their first think about how any state is legitimate to have this right of protecting its citizens, and how citizens want to be secure because they so prioritize it in their first breath. And our answer is yeah, we acknowledge the fact that people want to be secure, that the state has the right to protect its citizens, but as a matter of fact, we believe that people are not threatened, people are secure, and as a matter of fact, Japan has this right to protect its citizen. Why? Because it has this U.S. alliance which protects Japan interests, and as a matter of fact, U.S. has 80,000 troops deployed in Japan who are aimed and obliged by the Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and International Security to secure people's rights, to secure and protect Japan's interests. So we don't see how Japan that it cannot secure people, or people are not secure enough in that country. Secondly, we believe that it also has the support of the democratic state because they're sharing the same ideology. When they're sharing the same ideology, countries such as the most powerful countries in the world who are not accidentally democratic are the ones who support Japan. So in this case, we don't see how Japan is so powerless in this situation. But third of all, realistically talking, there's not a big threat for Japan. Why? Because it's not how they portray it, not so hyperbolized. Because even if China would like to have some of the islands that Japan has and have that influence in the region, the cost of the countries in the region to get into war and the cost of China to get into war with Japan outweighs the benefit of it. So the calculus of whether we should go to war or not shifts to the side of peace. Because of that U.S. counterbalance in the region, because Japan has that support, and because China, and for China, it's not so easy to go into war with such a big threat. Yeah, but secondly, start from the supposition that if we have army, we don't have threats anymore. I believe that this is an untrue supposition, and a very unbiased one. Because if we look at the status quo, the most powerful countries in the world are the ones who are so exposed. So the ones who have army become a threat to the others, and everybody sees it as a threat. That's why we have so much tension on the political stage nowadays, and that's why the ones who have army become a threat for the others. And moreover, in contrast to what they said, that this article is outdated one because it has been created 80 years ago, we believe this is not an outdated one. When the war ended, Japan, this country, made a commitment of not being into disputes anymore. That was a peaceful stance and should remain in the 21st century, because we're a century in which we are seeking for peace, we are seeking for a balance on the international stage. So that was a moment in which one of the countries chose to be different and to make a change in the paradigm. That was a moment when paradigm changed. Yeah, but let's get into my points about the backlashes and about people's reaction about being a model, because you know what, it would be very frustrating and very weird to see how Japan is shifting from democracy to taking into and diplomacy, taking into account war, taking into account having an army, taking into account selling weapons to neighbors in that region and so on. So those are the kind of things that I cannot see Japan to normalize. And if we abolish this article, we're only normalizing some things that other countries have: having an army, having weapons, having people going to war, having people going in an army, trained for this. So those are the kind of things that change Japan's stance. Japan is a democratic one. It had in this article, it stated that the aim and the reason why they do this is to protect and to be in the balance of peace in the society. So believe, and we question when we are taking into account abolishing this article whether Japan is still peaceful or not, is still on that stance or not, or whether it's shifting its stance in this situation. So this is the first backlash of shifting the stance of Japan. But secondly, about people's reaction, because we can see that in at the moment, people are very peaceful. People don't have those intentions of going to war and having an army, and don't even take into account because 80 years they stayed into peaceful grounds. They didn't have such a threat, a big threat that should make something. And we can see that people are not normalized with this kind of phenomenon. So in the moment in which we normalize this kind of thing and Japan abolishes this article, we only get fear, and we transfer fear into people's life, into people's beliefs. So people might question whether, oh my god, are we real in a threat? Are we real a problem? Is it going to be a war? Those are the kinds of reaction that people have when something so important is changing. 80 years of being a sovereign, of not having this kind of sovereign right, of not having a war, of not having an army, just changing into snip of hand, and changing into having this tomorrow. So those are the kind of things that people don't take into account and would not react on very good. So at the end of the day, because we don't see Japan doing this, because Japan has been a model and should remain a model for the society, for this world in which conflicts are a ordinary thing. We believe that Japan is a model for the countries who are in tension, and we believe that those disadvantages should not outweigh the advantages of having a peaceful ground and a diplomatic approach towards tension and conflict. So for all those reasons, I've never been so proud to oppose.